In January 1950, a titan of ideas passes away at 46, taken by tuberculosis, yet clearer-eyed than ever. His name, George Orwell. 1984, Big Brother, Newspeak. These words still shape our world. But who was the man behind these ideas? Orwell didn't just write a cult dystopia. A policeman in Burma, a tramp in London, a fighter in the Spanish Civil War, a fiery journalist. He lived 1,000 lives, all devoted to one fight: truth at any cost. To grasp 1984, we must dive into the Spanish Civil War, a maelstrom of heroes, betrayals, and shattered illusions that forced his vision. In this video, we uncover Orwell's lesser-known life, his other works, his unwavering commitment, and why, in January 1950, his death silenced a singular voice, but not its impact. George Orwell, born Eric Arthur Blair in 1903 in British colonial India, grew up in a middle-class family loyal to the empire. A scholarship student at Eton, School of the Powerful, he spurned that world at 19 to join the Burma police. There, colonial injustice repelled him, and he broke with the empire. Back in Europe, he plunged into poverty to understand the outcast, dishwasher in grimy hotels, tramp, bookstore clerk. No drift, but a choice. Birthing, down and out in Paris and London, a plea for social justice. Orwell juggled odd jobs, teacher, journalist, bookseller, and wrote with zeal. A libertarian socialist, he craved equality without tyranny, condemning capitalism and the authoritarian left alike. The Spanish Civil War, where he'd fight, forged his anti-totalitarian stance. During World War II, too frail for the front, he worked at the BBC and in the Free Press. Despite tuberculosis, still deadly in 1950, he adopted a son after losing his first wife, remarried, and completed 1984, A Cry Against Oppression. In January 1950, at 46, a pulmonary hemorrhage claimed him. As the Cold War fueled fears of surveillance and propaganda, Orwell left a legacy, a relentless fight for truth, without compromise. In 1936, the Spanish Civil War shakes Europe, foreshadowing storms ahead. On one side, Franco's nationalist fascists, backed by Hitler and Mussolini. On the other, the legitimate but frail republic, bolstered by the USSR and international brigades. But this isn't just fascism versus democracy. The left tears itself apart. The Republicans fracture. Stalinist communists, bound to Moscow, clashed with anarchists and libertarian socialists strong in Catalonia. Among them, the POUM, Workers' Party of Marxist Unification, dreams of a revolution without tyranny, collectivized factories, redistributed lands, hierarchy smashed. On Barcelona's barricades, this ideal takes hold. But the dream collapses. Stalinists, obsessed with control, brand the POUM and anarchists as traitors. With the USSR's support propping up the Republic while sabotaging its revolution through purges, they arrest, execute, manipulate. Their zeal splits the left, weakening the fight against Franco. George Orwell, drawn to the POUM's libertarian vision, watches this nightmare in horror. The Spanish Civil War isn't heroes versus villains, but a whirlwind of betrayals. From this chaos rise Homage to Catalonia and 1984, warnings against manipulation, prophetic as the Cold War looms in January 1950. In late 1936, George Orwell lands in Spain, not to write, but to fight. To kill fascists, he vows, seeking a true revolution. Through Britain's Independent Labour Party, he joins the POUM, Workers' Party of Marxist Unification, with Catalonia's libertarian socialists. On the Aragon front, he faces Franco's troops. The war is odd, little fighting, worn weapons, patched uniforms. In Barcelona, Orwell sees a transformed society, workers collectivizing factories and lands without bosses or police. He writes of an egalitarian hope, despite the surrounding chaos. In May 1937, a Francois bullet pierces his throat. He barely survives. Returning to Barcelona to recover, he finds the city changed. Stalinists, backed by the USSR, brand the POUM traitors. The May Days ignite the streets, purges, arrests, executions. Hunted by former allies, Orwell flees in secret. This betrayal scars him forever. Back in England, he publishes Homage to Catalonia, 1938, recounting this failed revolution. But the book is ignored, censored by editors fearing to divide the left. Accused of lying, Orwell discovers another manipulation, truth silenced, even in a democracy. Today, historians still debate, did Stalinist purges, unwittingly, pave the way for Franco's victory? Before Animal Farm and 1984, George Orwell shaped his ideas in lesser-known works. In 1933, Down and Out in Paris and London explores poverty. Dishwasher in grimy hotels, tramp on the streets, he writes. When you're dirty and hungry, you want nothing. In 1937, The Road to Wigan Pier examines Northern England's mines. Orwell probes workers' hardship and the left's flaws. You can hate injustice without knowing what justice is. A Clergyman's Daughter, 1935, and Keep the Aspidistra Flying, 1936, dissect middle-class hypocrisy. In Aspidistra, he writes, money is what God used to be. Good and evil have no meaning any longer except failure and success. These books reveal an Orwell who observes, questions, exposes. He writes to understand, never to please, paving the way for his major works. In 1945, George Orwell publishes Animal Farm, a sharp fable. Animals on an English farm revolt, expel humans, and aim for equality. But the pigs seize power, and the ideal collapses. Orwell, in Why I Wrote Animal Farm, says it targets the Russian Revolution and its Stalinist betrayal. Napoleon embodies Stalin, Snowball Trotsky. Purges, slogans, and rewritten laws mirror rigged trials and propaganda. One line sums it up. All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. In 1945, the USSR, a victorious ally, is untouchable. British editors reject the book, fearing criticism of Stalin. This rejection echoes Orwell's message. Truth can be silenced, even without tyranny. Animal Farm is published regardless. In 100 pages, Orwell reveals, with animals and humor, how a revolution can turn into oppression. In 1949, George Orwell, weakened by tuberculosis, finishes 1984 on a windswept Scottish island. The novel portrays three blocks: Oceania, Eurasia, Eastasia, trapped in endless war, watching all, twisting truth. In Airstrip 1, London, Winston Smith lives under Big Brother's watchful eye. A fleeting glance, a colleague, a woman stirs a suspicion. Someone else doubts like him. In a world where thought is treason, seeking truth is dangerous. The party rules all. The Ministry of Truth rewrites records. Newspeak stifles dissent. Doublethink bends contradictions into truths. War is peace, freedom slavery. This sparks the tale. For 1984 is not just a study of tyranny, but a riveting novel. 1984 asks, what survives when truth fades? Shaped by Spain's betrayals, Orwell probes power's distortions. Some read it as a warning. Freedom, unwatched, withers. Others see a mirror of the present where propaganda and slogans warp reality. In January 1950, Orwell dies, claimed by tuberculosis. As the Cold War deepens surveillance and disinformation, 1984 stands as a challenge. His works, From Down and Out to 1984, dissect oppression, hypocrisy, manipulation. His legacy calls us to question power, seek truth, guard freedom. Read 1984, a cornerstone of modern thought, to wrestle with these ideas. Join our journey through history and literature by liking, subscribing, sharing,